Imagine waking up to breaking news: Tel Aviv under heavy fire, skies glowing red with missiles, and the world on the edge of World War III. Qatar vs. Israel, a war no one thought possible, but one spark could set the Middle East ablaze. Today, we dive deep into a chilling scenario that could turn terrifyingly real. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel Conflict Eye, your trusted source for deep dives into global conflict scenarios and hidden geopolitical realities. Today we explore a chilling hypothetical. What if Qatar and Israel went to war? On the surface, this sounds unlikely, but in the volatile Middle East, the smallest spark can ignite a wildfire. Tel Aviv, Israel's beating heart, is a city that symbolizes strength, technology, and modern identity. But what if one morning this bustling hub was thrown into chaos, engulfed in flames from an unexpected adversary, Qatar? Many would dismiss the idea, but Qatar is no small player. With immense wealth, modern weapons, and alliances that stretch into powerful regional networks, it's a force that cannot be underestimated. This video will walk you through a realistic war, game-style scenario, how tensions might escalate, the strategies each side could use, and how the wider region and even the world would respond. From missile strikes on Tel Aviv to counterattacks, cyber warfare, and global diplomacy, we will paint a vivid picture of a conflict that could alter history forever. Stay with us as we unfold the shocking possibilities. At first glance, Qatar and Israel share no open battlefront. They are separated by geography, and for years, Qatar has balanced between Western ties and Islamic alliances. Yet beneath the surface lies deep tension. Qatar has been a vocal supporter of Palestinian rights, often clashing with Israel's policies in Gaza. Its media arm, Al Jazeera, has consistently amplified Palestinian voices, drawing ire from Tel Aviv. But the real trigger could be alliances. Qatar maintains strong ties with Iran and Turkey, both states with openly hostile stances toward Israel. If a regional crisis in Gaza escalates, say an Israeli strike kills thousands in a refugee camp, Qatar might feel compelled to act. Supplying weapons is one thing, but what if it decided to step into the conflict directly? Additionally, Qatar's enormous financial reserves allow it to acquire cutting-edge weapons, drones, and missile systems, leveling the playing field against Israel's formidable arsenal. Combine this with access to Iranian missile technology, and suddenly, Tel Aviv is within reach. In this fragile balance, it would only take one miscalculation, one strike too far, for Doha and Tel Aviv to find themselves locked in a nightmare war that no one truly wanted. Wars rarely begin overnight. They brew from tension, mistrust, and a final catastrophic event. In our scenario, it all starts with a humanitarian disaster in Gaza. Imagine Israeli jets strike suspected militant hideouts, but instead, a crowded hospital is destroyed. Images flood social media, burned children, crying families, collapsed buildings. Outrage spreads across the Muslim world. Qatar's leaders, under immense pressure from regional allies and its own people, condemn Israel fiercely. But words alone aren't enough. Within hours, Qatar pledges military support for Palestinians. Israeli intelligence intercepts shipments of weapons linked back to Doha, escalating accusations. Then comes the trigger: a Qatari naval patrol clashes with an Israeli submarine in the Persian Gulf. Shots are fired, sailors killed. Both governments blame each other. Israel threatens retaliation. Doha announces it will respond to any aggression with full force. That night, Israel launches a preemptive cyber attack on Qatari infrastructure, blacking out parts of Doha. Qatar retaliates by firing long-range missiles supplied secretly by Iran towards central Israel. Alarms wail in Tel Aviv. The unthinkable has happened. Qatar and Israel are officially at war. The Middle East is about to explode. The first missiles rain down on Tel Aviv in the early morning hours. Israel's Iron Dome intercepts many, but not all. One missile slams into a high, engulfing it in flames. Another strikes near the city's financial district, sending shockwaves across global markets. Tel Aviv, once a symbol of safety, is suddenly under siege. Citizens rush to bomb shelters. Sirens echo across the coastline. Israeli emergency services are stretched thin. Live broadcasts show smoke billowing across the skyline. Tel Aviv in flames becomes a global headline. For Qatar, this is both a symbolic and tactical move. Striking Israel's cultural and economic heart sends a powerful message. Doha is not afraid to challenge Tel Aviv directly, but such an action also guarantees devastating retaliation. Within hours, Israel unleashes its air force. F-35 stealth jets roar over the skies of Doha, targeting military bases and missile launch sites. Explosions light up the night. While Qatari air defenses scramble to respond, Tel Aviv burns, Doha shakes, and the world watches in shock. The Middle East has plunged into a war that could drag every power, from Washington to Tehran, into its deadly orbit. Israel, known for its doctrine of overwhelming response, wastes no time. The IDF launches Operation Iron Vengeance, a full-scale military campaign to neutralize Qatar's war-making capability. The first wave is air power. Israeli jets target Qatari air bases, radar systems, and naval assets in the Persian Gulf. Within hours, much of Qatar's air force is grounded. But Doha is not defenseless. Using advanced surface-to-air missile systems, Qatar manages to shoot down several Israeli aircraft, marking rare losses for the IDF. Next comes cyber warfare. Israel deploys elite Unit 8200 hackers to paralyze Qatar's financial system. ATMs stop working, banks freeze, and panic spreads among citizens. On the ground, Israel prepares special forces operations. Rumors swirl of Mossad operatives already inside Qatar, sabotaging military infrastructure. Meanwhile, Tel Aviv reinforces its civil defense network, bracing for more missile barrages. Qatar, however, counters through alliances. Turkey rushes to provide air defense support. Iran allegedly sends more missiles, while Hamas and Hezbollah open new fronts to stretch Israeli forces thin. The battlefield is no longer confined to Tel Aviv and Doha. It spreads across the region, threatening a multi-front regional war unlike anything seen in decades. Qatar understands it cannot survive a direct war with Israel alone. Its strength lies in diplomacy, wealth, and alliances. Almost immediately, Doha appeals to Turkey and Iran for direct military support. Turkish drones are shipped into Qatari bases, while Iranian missile experts help launch fresh salvos toward Israel. Meanwhile, propaganda wars intensify. Al Jazeera broadcasts images of Israeli strikes on Doha, fueling outrage across the Muslim world. Protests erupt in Cairo, Amman, and Istanbul. Arab governments face mounting pressure to act. Saudi Arabia, usually at odds with Qatar, finds itself torn. On one hand, it shares rivalries with Doha. On the other, its people demand solidarity with Palestinians. Riyadh quietly provides intelligence but avoids open intervention. Israel, sensing the danger of a united Arab front, doubles down on Tel Aviv's defense while lobbying Washington for emergency support. The United States, long Israel's strongest ally, sends an aircraft carrier to the eastern Mediterranean, warning Iran and Turkey to stay out. But the Middle East is not listening. The war is no longer Israel versus Qatar. It is becoming a clash of civilizations where alliances, ideology, and survival collide. As missiles and bombs devastate both nations, civilians bear the brunt. In Tel Aviv, apartment blocks lie in ruins, hospitals overflow, and families sleep in shelters for weeks. In Doha, Israeli airstrikes cripple infrastructure, power cuts, food shortages, and crumbling roads turn life into chaos. International aid agencies call it a disaster of biblical proportions. The UN pleads for a ceasefire, but neither side listens. Images of charred children's toys and destroyed mosques dominate global headlines. Hashtags like Fake Pray for Tel Aviv and A Stand with Doha trend worldwide, polarizing social media. Refugees begin to flee. Wealthy Qataris escape to Europe, while Israelis rush to evacuate Tel Aviv for safer towns inland. The region faces a humanitarian nightmare that fuels even more anger. Behind the scenes, war crimes accusations emerge. Israel is accused of disproportionate bombings. Qatar faces allegations of targeting civilians with rockets. Both deny, both double down. The human cost rises into tens of thousands. What began as a war of pride now threatens to wipe entire cities off the map. The question isn't just who will win, it's whether either nation can survive the devastation they've unleashed. The world is stunned. The U.S. calls for immediate de-escalation, yet secretly approves more weapons for Israel. Europe is split. France urges peace, while Britain stands firmly with Tel Aviv. Russia and China seize the opportunity, condemning the West and offering Qatar military supplies. The UN Security Council becomes a battleground of words, not solutions. Resolutions for a ceasefire are vetoed repeatedly. The global order appears paralyzed. Meanwhile, energy markets spiral into chaos. Qatar, one of the largest natural gas exporters, halts shipments. Prices skyrocket, plunging Europe into an energy crisis just as winter approaches. Stock markets crash, airlines cancel flights, and global trade slows to a crawl. As world powers take sides, the risk of escalation grows. NATO forces shadow Russian naval ships in the Mediterranean. Iran warns Israel that a ground invasion of Qatar would cross a red line. Turkey threatens to send troops. Suddenly, the conflict teeters on the edge of World War III. Tel Aviv in flames is no longer just Israel's tragedy, it's a global crisis that could reshape international relations for generations. In war game analysis, three outcomes emerge. First, Israeli decisive victory. Israel's superior military eventually overwhelms Qatar, destroying its bases and forcing a humiliating ceasefire. Doha suffers massive losses but survives politically by framing itself as a martyr for Palestine. Second, stalemate. Both nations bleed without clear victory. Tel Aviv remains scarred, Doha crippled, but neither backs down. A brokered truce freezes the war, but hostility remains, ensuring future clashes. Third, regional escalation. The worst-case scenario. Turkey, Iran, and possibly Hezbollah join Qatar openly, dragging Israel into a multi-front war. The U.S. is pulled deeper into the fight. Russia and China counter, and within weeks, the Middle East becomes the epicenter of global conflict. Which outcome is most likely? That depends on diplomacy or its failure. What's clear is that any war between Qatar and Israel would unleash devastation far beyond their borders. It would redraw alliances, destabilize economies, and scar the Middle East for generations. The lesson is chilling, even impossible. Wars can become reality when pride, politics, and miscalculation collide. As we close this scenario, one image lingers: Tel Aviv in flames, Doha under bombardment, and a world trembling at the brink of disaster. This is not just fiction, it is a warning. The Middle East remains a tinderbox where one spark can ignite a firestorm with global consequences. The Qatar vs. Israel war scenario shows us how fragile peace really is. Behind diplomatic smiles lie rivalries, alliances, and grievances that could erupt at any moment. Whether through missiles, cyber attacks, or propaganda, the next conflict could look disturbingly similar to what we've just imagined. But it also teaches us something deeper: wars are not won by firepower alone. They destroy homes, families, and futures. They leave scars that last generations. And in the end, no side truly wins, humanity loses. So as Tel Aviv smolders in this simulation, let us remember that preventing such flames is the responsibility of all nations. Dialogue, restraint, and wisdom must triumph over pride, revenge, and destruction. Only then can the Middle East and the world step back from the edge of the abyss. If you found this breakdown eye-opening, make sure to like this video, subscribe to Conflict Eye, and turn on notifications so you never miss our deep dive war scenarios and geopolitical insights. And don't forget, share your thoughts in the comments. Do you think a Qatar vs. Israel war is possible, or just a chilling fantasy?